Have you ever felt like someone's words or actions had the power to ruin your entire day? Maybe it was a careless comment, an impatient driver, or just a friend who didn't show up when you needed them the most. You were calm a minute ago, but suddenly your emotions hijack your peace and it feels like you've lost control. But what if I told you no one has the power to upset you unless you give them that power? That's not just wishful thinking. That's Stoicism. That's emotional freedom. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through 10 life-changing lessons, simple but profound, that can help you stop overreacting, stop absorbing the chaos of others, and start living from a place of peace and clarity. Stick around till the end, and you'll learn how to build a mindset that makes you untouchable, not by being cold, but by being centered. Because the strongest person in the room is the one who doesn't need to react. So let's begin. Lesson 1: you choose your reactions. You wake up feeling good. Sunlight's pouring in. Your favorite song is playing. Everything seems right. And then someone cuts you off in traffic. Or a co-worker makes a snide remark. Or your partner forgets something important. That good mood gone. But here's what most people never realize: they didn't ruin your day. You did. You reacted. You allowed their actions to dictate your internal state. And that's where your power slipped away. Now, imagine you had a space of pause between what happens and how you respond. That pause is your freedom. As Viktor Frankl once wrote, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Imagine your mind like noise minus canceling headphones. The noise is still out there, the complaints, the rudeness, the inconsiderate people. But it no longer reaches you. You're protected by your own calm. And here's how you start building that protection. Step 1: when you feel triggered, pause. Breathe. Name the emotion. This is anger. This is frustration. Naming it gives you space. Step 2: ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this? Often our suffering comes not from what happened, but from how we interpret it. Step 3: choose your next move based on who you want to be, not how you feel in the heat of the moment. Let me give you a real example. You're in a meeting. You offer a thoughtful idea. A colleague rolls their eyes and shoots it down in front of everyone. Old reaction? Defensiveness. Maybe silence. Maybe resentment. New response? Pause. Ask, is this about me, or are they projecting their own stress? And then you respond, if at all, from a place of calm. This isn't about bottling your feelings. It's about realizing that feelings are signals, not commands. You can feel anger without letting it drive your actions. Seneca wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. So the next time someone tries to push your buttons, remember their behavior doesn't define your mood, your reaction does. And in choosing calm over chaos, you're not avoiding the fight. You're rising above it. Because the most powerful person is the one who doesn't need to prove it. If this message moved you, share it with someone who's always getting pulled into emotional battles. They might just need this reminder too. Listen to stop expecting people to act like you. Let's be honest, how many times have you been disappointed by someone? Not because of what they did, but because they didn't do what you would have done. You showed up for them. You remembered their birthday. You listened when they vented. But when the roles reverse, they disappear. And the frustration kicks in. How could they be so inconsiderate? I would never do that to them. But here's the truth: expecting others to think like you is like trying to control the wind. It won't happen. And the more you try, the more you suffer. Each person walks through life wearing a different lens shaped by their childhood, beliefs, traumas, fears. You might value honesty above all else. Someone else might avoid truth to protect their image. You might see responsibility as strength. They might see it as a burden. So when they act differently, it's not a betrayal of you. It's an expression of them. Think of it like this: if you expect a cat to bark, you'll always be disappointed. But once you accepted me, you stop being frustrated by what it was never meant to be. Epictetus reminds us when someone irritates you, it's because you're letting their behavior affect you. But if you remember they act from their own principles, not yours, your peace remains intact. Here's a story. There was a woman who always brought coffee to her friend during early morning meetings. Every week, rain or shine. One day, she forgot. She apologized. Her friend shrugged it off like it didn't matter. But the next week, that friend brought coffee just for herself. She felt hurt, betrayed. But eventually, she realized her kindness was a gift, not a contract. Her friend wasn't obligated to return the gesture, nor did it make her original kindness any less valuable. That's the shift. Instead of saying, "I would never treat them that way," try if that's their choice. They'll continue to act from who I am, not who they are. Now, this doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It means you choose to stop internalizing their behavior. Try this exercise. First, when someone lets you down, pause. Ask, what was I expecting them to do? Second, ask, was that expectation ever agreed upon, or did I assume it? Third, pivot your focus. Don't obsess over how they behaved. Focus on what you will do next, in alignment with your peace. Because here's the truth: people are who they are, not who you want them to be. And that's okay. Acceptance isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It doesn't mean lowering your standards, it means protecting your sanity. When you let go of expecting people to mirror your values, your reactions become quieter, softer, more free. And you realize peace begins the moment you stop demanding others to meet your image of them. Lesson 3: let go of the need to always be right. Think back to the last argument you had. Maybe it was about something trivial like who left the lights on, or something heavier like money, trust, or past mistakes. Do you remember that feeling? That intense urge to prove your point? To make them understand why you were right? That urge, that pressure to win the conversation, it's seductive, but also exhausting. Here's a hard truth: the need to always be right is often just fear in disguise. Fear of not being seen, not being respected, not being in control. But the irony is, clinging to being right often causes more disconnection, not less. You might win the argument and lose the relationship. You might prove your point and poison your peace. The Stoics saw this clearly. They valued truth, yes. But more than that, they valued wisdom. And wisdom sometimes means knowing when to be silent. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." So what if instead of defending your position, you step into curiosity? What if the goal was to win, but to understand? Picture this: you're in a conversation, and someone says something completely wrong, maybe even offensive. Instead of lashing out, you pause and say, "I see where you're coming from. I've thought about it differently, but I respect your perspective." That's not weakness. That's strength. That's control. Because you're each choosing peace over pride. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who argued with his father every time they talked politics. They loved each other deeply, but each call ended in frustration. One day, the son asked himself, "Why am I trying so hard to make him agree with me? What's the cost of being right? And in that moment, he let it go. Instead of debating, he started listening. And the peace that returned between them was worth more than any victory in a conversation. So ask yourself, would I rather be right or at peace? Here's a practical way to practice this shift. Step 1. When you feel that urge to prove yourself, pause. Breathe. Let the silence stretch. Step to ask, is this battle worth my energy? Most aren't. Step 3. When you speak, choose clarity over combat. And if your voice adds no value, let silence do the talking. As Lao Tzu once said, he who is attached to his views will never grow. You don't have to prove yourself in every conversation. Sometimes, the greatest proof of wisdom is restraint. And here's the deeper truth, you don't need to be right because you're already whole. Lesson 4. Stop letting others' words define your worth. You share something you're proud of, an idea, a piece of art, a small success. But then someone smirks, makes a passive comment, criticizes it, or worse, ignores it altogether. And just like that, your confidence withers. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that other people's opinions are mirrors, reflections of who we are. But the truth is they're not mirrors. They're projections. Their words reflect them, not you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." That hits deep, doesn't it? When you let someone else's words decide your value, you give them a level of control they neither earn nor deserve. Your worth isn't up for debate. It doesn't fluctuate based on approval or applause. You are not someone's opinion. You are not their compliment. You are not their insult. You are what you do consistently, how you carry yourself when no one is watching, and how you bounce back when the world doubts you. Let me give you an example. A man presents an idea at work. His manager responds with cold silence. He walks away, heart sinking, questioning everything. But then he pauses and reframes. Their silence doesn't define the value of my thought. It only reflects their perspective, their mood, their filters. And suddenly, HES back in his own lane. Still confident. Still clear. That's emotional sovereignty. Here's how to start reclaiming yours. Step 1. When someone's words sting, pause. Breathe. Create that space before you absorb their message. Step to ask, is there truth here I can use? If yes, grow from it. If not, let it go. Step 3. Reaffirm your own voice. Your path. Your values. Speak them to yourself out loud if needed. Lao Tzu said it plainly, care about what other people are thinking, you will always be their prisoner. The goal isn't arrogance. It's clarity. You still listen. You still reflect. But you filter fiercely. Because not every voice deserves to echo in your mind. And here's the ultimate shift: when you detach your worth from others' words, you become unshakable. You'll walk into a room and no longer wonder, do they like me? Instead, you'll think, do I like who I'm being right now? And that shift changes everything. Lesson 5. Protect your energy by setting boundaries. You've been there. A friend calls at 10 p.m. with a quick favor and you say yes, even though you're exhausted. A coworker dumps a last-minute task on your desk and you take it, even though it means skipping lunch. You smile. You say no problem, but inside, a quiet resentment builds. Why is it so hard to say no? Because deep down, many of us confuse kindness with compliance. We think setting boundaries means we're being selfish, cold, or uncaring. But here's the truth: saying yes to everyone else is often saying no to yourself. And you can't serve others from a place of depletion. As the Stoics would say, if you don't control your schedule, someone else will. Think of your energy like a bank account. Every yes is a withdrawal. Every moment of silence, rest, or time spent on your own priorities is a deposit. The problem? Most people are overdrawn and still writing checks. But boundaries fix that. Let me show you how. Imagine someone always texts you with drama. Every time you pick up the phone, it drains you. You want to help, but it's overwhelming. Instead of ghosting or lashing out, you send a simple message. I care about you, but I need time tonight to recharge. Let's talk tomorrow. Firm. Clear. Kind. That's a boundary. It doesn't reject the person, it respects the relationship and yourself. Epictetus put it this way: freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And yes, other people's demands are often beyond your control. Here's how to start setting boundaries without guilt. Step 1. Be honest and direct. People can't respect a boundary they don't know exists. Step 2. Use I statements. Instead of blaming, speak from your experience. I need quiet time after work lands better than you always interrupt me. Step 3. Hold the line. A boundary only works if you stick to it. Every time you uphold it, you reinforce self minus respect. Remember this: boundaries aren't barriers, they're bridges. They create the space for connection without cost. They say, I love you and I love myself enough to be clear. So the next time someone pulls on your time, energy, or emotions, pause and ask, is this helping me show up as my best self? If not, draw the line. And don't just draw it, stand behind it. Because your peace is too valuable to be negotiated every time someone else needs something. The world doesn't need more people who say yes to everything. It needs more people who say yes with intention and no without guilt. Lesson 6. Detach from the opinions of others. You speak up with confidence, share your truth, and then you see it. The raised eyebrow. The subtle smirk. The sarcastic comment from the back of the room. Suddenly, doubt creeps in. You start questioning everything. Did I sound stupid? Do they think I'm wrong? Should I have said less or more? But pause right there. Because this is where most people give away their power. Here's a radical truth: their opinion is not your truth. Everyone views the world through a lens shaped by their pain, biases, fears, and beliefs. So when someone judges you, they're often revealing more about them than about you. Let me ask you, would you hand the steering wheel of your life to a stranger? Then why hand them yourself minus worth? Marcus Aurelius reminds us, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. You're not suffering from their judgment. You're suffering from your own belief that it matters more than your values. Here's a practice that changes everything. Step 1. When someone criticizes or dismisses you, pause. Ask yourself, what authority do they really have over my life? If the answer is none, then treat their opinion accordingly. Step 2. Reaffirm your core. Say to yourself, my worth is not tied to their approval, because it isn't. Your worth is stable, not situational. Step 3. Visualize their opinion as a cloud passing across the sky. Notice it. Acknowledge it. Let it float away. Here's a story. A young woman started a business, and people laughed. Too risky. Who do you think you are? You should play it safe. Years later, the same people applauded her success, forgetting they once doubted her. But she never built for them. She built for her vision. Because once you start living for approval, you'll die by rejection. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, Be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Growth often looks strange to the stagnant. Bold choices often offend the cautious. And authenticity often triggers the insecure. That's not your burden. That's their mirror. So the next time someone's words sting, ask yourself, am I living for them or for me? And remind yourself freedom isn't just about what you do, it's about what no longer controls you. Let go of the need to be understood by everyone. It's a trap. You don't need to be liked to live fully. You just need to be aligned with your truth and brave enough to walk it, even when it's lonely. Because the more you detach from the noise, the louder your clarity becomes. Lesson 7. Respond with silence, not anger. You're in the middle of a heated moment. Someone says something disrespectful, maybe even cruel. Your heart races. Your jaw tightens. Every cell in your body is ready to react. It would feel so good to fire back, to deliver that perfect line, to make them feel what they made you feel. But here's the thing, reaction is easy, control is power. In a world addicted to noise, silence is a rebellion. It's the Stoic way of saying you don't tone me. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. You don't need to match their volume. You don't need to lower yourself to their behavior. You can win without a single word. Let me paint a picture. You're in a meeting. You present an idea. Someone cuts you off with a condescending tone. They laugh. Maybe even roll their eyes. Everyone is watching. Now, what do most people do? They react. Defend. Get flustered. The energy spirals into a scene. But what does a Stoic do? They pause. Hold eye contact. Say nothing. Just calmly wait. And that silence? It speaks louder than any comeback. It says you can bark all you want, but I don't move unless I choose to. It's strength without aggression. Confidence without ego. Now, I know what you're rethinking. But won't they think they've won if I don't respond? Maybe. But here's the deeper truth. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. Not every comment deserves your energy. Not every conflict requires your voice. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Chris who worked in a high-pressure sales office. One day, a colleague accused him falsely of taking credit for a deal. Chris' first instinct was to lash out, to defend himself publicly. But instead, he said nothing. He kept doing his job, kept showing up with integrity. A week later, the truth surfaced on its own. The manager apologized. And the accuser? They lost credibility not because Chris attacked, but because Chris didn't have to. That's the power of silence. When you don't respond in anger, you will with believing. Keep the moral high ground. Avoid emotional regret. Let time and truth do the talking. Here's how to use silence as a strategy, not a retreat. Step 1. Pause and breathe. When emotions flare, your first job isn't to speak, it's to center yourself. Step 2. Evaluate the cost. Ask, will speaking make this better or just louder? Step 3. Choose intention over impulse. Speak when it serves the moment. Otherwise, protect your energy. This doesn't mean you suppress your voice forever. But it means you use it like a sword only when necessary, and always with purpose. As the Buddha taught, speak only if it improves upon the silence. Sometimes, silence is not avoidance, it's evolution. It's choosing clarity over chaos. Let's talk about a common example. You receive a passive-aggressive text. Maybe from a family member. Maybe from someone close. The old you? types back a paragraph, defends, justifies, fires shots. The new you reads it, smiles, puts the phone down, because you know you don't have to prove your piece to people who thrive in drama. You've transcended the trap. And here's the most beautiful part: silence isn't just for others, it's for you. It's a space for healing, for reflection, for power. When you respond with silence, you create distance, and distance gives perspective. From that view, you realize that words were just words. Their anger washed about you. Their chaos doesn't belong in your home or your mind. Marcus Aurelius reminds us again, if you are disturbed by external things, it is not they that trouble you, but your own judgment of them. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Every time you choose silence over spite, you reclaim your narrative. You walk away taller, not smaller. Because in the end, silence isn't weakness. It's the sound of someone who's risen above the noise. So next time someone tries to drag you into their storm, don't go. Stay where the air is calm, where words aren't weapons, where peace is not earned through argument but chosen through awareness. That's the real power. Lesson 8: practice gratitude to dissolve anger. You wake up, and the day already feels off. Your coffee spills. You're stuck in traffic. Someone sends a tone-minus email that triggers you. Suddenly, you're fuming not because one thing went wrong, but because 10 small things piled on. You know the feeling. But here's a secret Stoics understood: well, you can't feel anger and gratitude at the same time. They're mutually exclusive. Like light and darkness, one cancels the other out. Gratitude isn't just a nice habit. It's an emotional override. A form of spiritual self-defense. When practiced daily, it becomes armor lens that reframes even your worst moments. Cicero once wrote, "Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others." And he was right. Let's break this down. Anger thrives on focus, usually the focus on what's missing, what's unfair, or what went wrong. Gratitude shifts that focus. It turns, why is this happening to me? It's not about denial. It's about perspective. Let me give you an example. You're standing in a long line. You're late. You're annoyed. Everything feels like a personal attack. But then, you pause. You look down at your phone and realize you're holding a device more powerful than what sent humans to the moon. You take a breath. You remember you have legs that work, a heart that beats, 100 things going right, even when one thing's going wrong. And just like that, the anger loosens its grip. That's the quiet magic of gratitude. It doesn't change your situation, it changes you in the situation. Now, don't wait for life to force you into gratitude. Build it like a discipline. Here's how. Step 1. Use anger as a trigger. Whenever you feel irritation rising, use it as a cue to ask, what can I be thankful for right now? It might be something small, the breeze on your face, a friend who checked in yesterday, the fact that you're alive. Whatever it is, name it. Say it. Feel it. Step to keep a gratitude log. At the end of each day, write down 3 things that went well, no matter how small. Over time, your brain rewires. It becomes addicted to noticing the good. Step 3. Reframe setbacks in real minus time. When something goes wrong, ask, what's the opportunity here? Or what could this teach me? Not because you love struggle, but because you refuse to waste it. Let me share a story. There was a woman who lost her job unexpectedly. At first, she panicked. Her identity was tied to that position. But then instead of spiraling, she sat down and listed 10 things she still had. Her health, her home, her network, her skills, her breath. That clarity led her to launch a small business one she had always dreamed of, but never dared pursue. What looked like a loss became her liberation. And that began not with hustle, but with gratitude. The Stoics would approve. They taught that every obstacle was a teacher. Every frustration, a lesson. Every loss, a doorway to something deeper. Even Epictetus, born a slave and crippled by physical suffering, said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." So try this. Next time you're angry, don't suppress it, but pause and inject gratitude into the moment. Not in a fake, positive minus thinking way, but in a grounded, clear-minded way. Look around. Take stock. What do I still have? What could be worse and distant? What can I appreciate, even here? You'll find that the same situation feels entirely different. And that's when you realize anger doesn't always need to be managed sometimes. It just needs to be outnumbered. Because the mind cannot be bitter and thankful at the same time. And the moment you choose gratitude, the battle is already won. Lesson 9: Reframe criticism as a tool for growth. You've just shared something close to your heart, a new idea, a creative project, or maybe just a vulnerable truth. And then someone critiques it. Harshly. Casually. Publicly. Whatever the style, the sting is real. Your chest tightens. Your mind races. You want to defend. You want to shut down. Or maybe you just want to never try again. But before you retreat, let me offer this: criticism is only painful when you believe it defines you. But what if it doesn't? What if it could refine you instead? The Stoics believe that criticism, even when poorly delivered, could be one of life's most powerful teachers. Epictetus said, "If someone speaks ill of you, instead of defending yourself, say he obviously does not know the rest of my faults, else he would not have mentioned only these." Now that's radical humility, but also incredible emotional freedom. Criticism isn't your enemy. Your reaction to it is. So how do we shift that reaction? By making criticism a filter, not a wound. Here's a simple framework to reframe any critique. Step 1: pause. When someone criticizes you, breathe. Don't react immediately. That's when the ego is loudest. Step 2: separate tone from truth. Sometimes criticism is delivered with kindness. Sometimes it's wrapped in ego, envy, or ignorance. Ignore the packaging and ask, is there anything here that helps me grow? Even if 90% of it is noise, mind the 10% that's useful. Step 3: use it or lose it. If the feedback helps, apply it. If not, discard it. But do both with calm, not contempt. Let me tell you a story. A young writer published his first article online. It went viral and so did the comments. Some praised it. Some tore it apart. At first, he spiraled, obsessing over every insult, every sarcastic remark. But then, his mentor told him feedback is like food. Some of it nourishes. Some of it poisons. Learn to taste and spit. From then on, the writer read every comment with a highlighter, not a high heart rate. He kept what helped. He let go of what didn't. His writing got better. His piece got stronger. You can do the same. Criticism is information. Nothing more. Don't turn it into identity. Here's the truth: if you never receive criticism, you're probably not doing anything bold. And if you crumble under it, you're giving the critic more power than they deserve. So instead, become someone who listens without losing themselves. Someone who reflects without reacting. And yes, someone who can say thanks for the insight even when it stings. Because that sting, it's often the edge of growth. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." The same goes for praise. If you crave approval, you'll fear disapproval. But if you stand grounded in your values, both praise and critique become simply feedback. No more. No less. So the next time someone criticizes you, ask, what part of this helps me sharpen my sword? What part reveals more about them than about me? How can I respond or not respond from clarity, not ego? Do this consistently and criticism will stop being your enemy and start being your ally. Because the most unshakable people aren't the ones who avoid criticism. They're the ones who use it without losing their center. Lesson 10: Master the art of letting go. Picture this. You're holding onto a hot coal, ready to throw it at someone who hurt you, but while you wait for the right moment, it's your own hand that's burning. That's what resentment does. That's what anger, grudges, and emotional baggage do. They convince you that holding on is strength when in truth, freedom lies in the letting go. Let me be clear, letting go doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It doesn't mean pretending you weren't hurt. And it definitely doesn't mean saying it was okay. Letting go means choosing yourself, your peace, your future, your emotional freedom over the pain of the past. The Buddha said it powerfully holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So why do we hold on? Because we think it protects us. We think it keeps the memory sharp, the lesson alive, the dignity intact. But here's the reality: what you cling to ends up clinging to you. And until you let go, you'll carry people, moments, and mistakes like invisible anchors pulling you backward while you try to move forward. Let's reframe. What if letting go was an act of power, not surrender? What if it said, you no longer control me? This no longer defines me. I choose something better. Because that's the Stoic path. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not be disturbed by what is outside your control. Let it go." Here's a simple framework to begin. Step 1: acknowledge the emotion. Suppression isn't stoicism. Feel it fully. Name it. Sit with it. Then move through it. Step 2: ask what's within your power. Can you change the person? Rewrite the event? If not, shift your focus to what is in your control: your thoughts, your response, your healing. Step 3: choose presence over pain. Every time the past resurfaces, gently remind yourself that moment is over. But my peace is now. Let me share a story. A man was betrayed by a close friend. Business, trust, years of shared memories gone overnight. For months, he cowed in sleep. He replayed the betrayal endlessly, fantasized about revenge, held tight to the grudge like it was justice. But one day, exhausted, he asked himself, what would my life look like without this weight? He cowed an answer, because he had forgotten what peace felt like. That was his turning point. He didn't call the friend. He didn't need an apology. He just released it. Bit by bit. Breath by breath. And in doing so, he didn't just reclaim his nights, he reclaimed himself. That's the power of letting go. It's not about them. It's about you. It's not about erasing. It's about freeing. So here's a practice you can try. Close your eyes. Picture the person or situation that's weighing on you. See the anger, the hurt, the weight. Now ask, is this worth carrying one more day? And if the answer is no, visualize yourself cutting the rope, releasing the grip, floating forward. You don't need a ceremony. You need a choice. Let go and let peace rush in. Because in the end, nothing anyone did to you is worth giving them a lease on your mental and emotional space forever. Seneca reminds us it is not the man who has been wronged, but the man who continues to dwell on it, who remains in chains. So cut the chains. Let go not because they deserve it, but because you do. You deserve to feel light again, to sleep again, to dream again. And you will the moment you realize that strength isn't holding on. Strength is release. So what happens when you begin to live this way? When you pause instead of react. When you accept instead of expect. When you choose calm instead of being right. When you stop giving other people's opinions the keys to your inner world. What happens is transformation. Not overnight. Not with fireworks. But gradually like water carving stone. Each moment of restraint, each silent breath, each quiet letting go shapes a new version of you. One that no longer crumbles at criticism. One that no longer gets hijacked by pettiness. One that walks into chaos and carries stillness inside. This is the Stoic life. It's not cold. It's not distant. It's not emotional, it's anchored. You still feel things deeply, even, but your no longer ruled by them. Let me share something profound. Most people live in emotional debt. They spend every day reacting, giving away time, energy, focus to people and events that don't matter in the long run. A traffic jam, a comment on social media, a minor rejection, a delay, a disagreement that spirals into days of silence or stress. But a Stoic, a master of emotion, they live in emotional wealth. They invest energy where it counts. They let go quickly. They respond slowly. They protect their peace like it's treasure because it is. You don't get to that place by accident. You get there by practice. Let's revisit what we've learned. You've learned that your reactions are yours to control. No one can make you angry unless you allow it. Between stimulus and response, you have the power to choose. You've learned to drop the fantasy that others will act like you. Expecting people to behave according to your values only guarantees frustration. Instead, you meet reality with acceptance, not resistance. You've learned the strength of releasing the need to win. Not every argument is worth your peace. Choosing to be calm, even when you could be right, is emotional mastery. You've learned that your value isn't determined by anyone's approval. Detach from praise, ignore petty criticism, and return to your own sense of worth because it was never meant to come from them. You've learned how to set clear boundaries without guilt. Saying no isn't selfish, it's self-minus respect. And it teaches others how to treat you without resentment. You've practiced the power of silence. Not every conflict deserves your voice. Sometimes restraint speaks louder than rebuttal. You've seen how gratitude dissolves even the most stubborn anger. By shifting attention to what remains, you weaken what's missing. Gratitude reframes everything. You've begun turning criticism into fuel. By extracting the lesson and discarding the venom, you sharpen yourself through what once softened your confidence. You've learned the freedom of letting go. Because carrying resentment is like trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of bricks. Once you drop the weight, you finally move. And maybe most importantly, you've remembered that peace is not found in avoiding life's noise, it's found in staying centered no matter what's around you. That's the gift of Stoicism. It's not about suppressing your humanity. It's about elevating it. So the next time someone insults you, you'll smile inwardly, because their opinion is no longer your reality. The next time plans fall apart, you'll adapt, not panic. The next time your emotions rise, like waves, you'll breathe, observe, and surf them with grace. And when people ask, how do you stay so calm? You'll know it's not magic. It's mastery. Built moment by moment, choice by choice. So, here we are. 12 lessons. Dozens of reflections. A journey through the fire of frustration into the stillness of strength. And yet, this isn't an ending. Because emotional mastery isn't a finish line. It's a practice. A path. A promise you make to yourself every day. You won't get it right all the time. That's okay. You'll slip. You'll overreact. You'll forget to pause. But then you'll remember. And each time you remember, you come back a little faster. You react a little less. You center yourself a little more. That's growth. And the more you return, the less the world can shake you. Because at the heart of Stoicism is one quiet truth. You were never meant to control the world, only your place within it. Storms will come. People will disappoint. Life will throw curveballs, heartbreaks, delays, and chaos. But none of that needs to define you. What defines you is how you show up. Do you panic or do you breathe? Do you retaliate or do you pause? Do you absorb the chaos or do you become the calm? Every moment offers you that choice. And over time, your peace becomes so strong, your presence so grounded that nothing outside of you can steal it. This doesn't make you emotional. It makes you emotionally sovereign. You still feel everything, but you're no longer ruled by anything. That's the real power. Not in always being calm, but in always returning to calm. Not in being untouched by life, but in becoming unshakable within life. So if you've made it this far, ask yourself, who would I be if I truly lived this way? If I stopped overreacting? If I let go faster? If I chose silence over ego, boundaries over burnout, wisdom over impulse? How different would my relationships be? How much energy would I save? What would it feel like to walk through life free? That's not a fantasy. It's a path. And every time you pause instead of react, you're walking it. Every time you choose stillness, you're reclaiming it. Every time you let go, you're becoming it. The Stoics didn't promise a pain-free life. They promised a life where pain doesn't turn you. And that's what you now hold in your hands. So practice. Not for perfection, but for peace. Practice until silence feels more powerful than shouting. Until presence becomes your protection. Until your mind becomes a sanctuary, not a battlefield. And when the world looks at you and says, "Why aren't you bothered?" you'll smile. Because they'll never understand what it's like to carry peace inside until they build it themselves. So here's your reminder, one last time. You are not what happens to you. You are how you choose to respond. And in that choice lies your strength, your freedom, and your future. If this message meant something to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs it. And if you're on this journey to quiet, courageous work of mastering your inner world, know this. You're not alone. We walk together, silently strong. Until next time, stay calm, stay grounded, stay unbothered.